Once everybody gets settled, Romeo, put on your pad there the order when we get there. Can we have a roll call, please?
It's a roll call vote. Bedden?
Here.
Brooks? Present. Hart?
Here.
Haynes?
Here.
Hodge?
Here.
Latour? McDonald? Commissioner McDonald? Thomas?
Here.
Vickers?
Present.
And Vogel?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you.
Commissioners, if I may remind everyone, when they can vote, please have your video on. And or remotely.
May we have a motion to approve last month's minutes?
I'm going to defer that motion to Brother Brooks.
Motion to accept last month's minutes.
Second.
Great. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Roll call vote for minutes. Bedden?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Hart? Yes. Haynes?
Yes.
Hodge?
Yes.
Latour? McDonald? Thomas?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes.
And Vogel?
Yes.
Minutes are approved, 2 absent.
May we have a reading of the consent agenda, please?
All right. Little Rock Planning Commission consent agenda, September 8th, 2022. Consent deferral, item B, Z 9680-A, Rock City Wraps, PD-C 11414 West Markham Street. The applicant failed to send the required notice to surrounding property owners. Staff recommends the item be deferred to the October 13th, 2022 agenda. Item 1, S-867-09, Merrimont Circle preliminary plat, west end of Merrimont Boulevard, west of Chenal Valley Drive. The applicant submitted a letter to staff on August 23rd, 2022, requesting this application be deferred to the October 13th, 2022 Planning Commission agenda so the additional required information can be provided to staff. Staff supports the deferral request. Item 14, Z9717, Powell Short-Term Rental, PDC, 3 Dove Circle. The applicant failed to send the required notice to surrounding property owners. Staff recommends the item be deferred to October 13th, 2022 agenda. Consent approval. Item number 2, S1471-C, lots 3 through 6, Chenal Kansas Edition, preliminary plat, 17100 block of Chenal Parkway. Staff recommends approval of the requested preliminary plat subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D and E and staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item number 4, G-25-230, South Park Street name change to Little Rock 9 Way. This portion of South Park Street located between West Daisy L. Getz and Bates Drive and West 16th Street. Staff recommends approval of the request to change the name of that portion of South Park Street located between West Daisy L. Getz and Bates Drive and West 16th Street to Little Rock 9 Way. Item number 7, Z 1907-A, Little Rock Billion Event Center, conditional use permit, 815 Main Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested conditional use permit to allow an event center subject to compliance with staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 8, Z 7253-F, Central High School, revised conditional use permit, 1500 Park Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested conditional use permit, including variances subject to compliance with comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F, the staff analysis and the agenda staff report. Item 10, Z 9718, Mart, Inc., Barbershop, conditional use permit, 6705 West 12th Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested CUP to allow a barber beauty shop on the I-2 zone property at 6705 West 12th Street, subject to compliance with staff analysis of the agenda staff report. 11, Z4470-0, Wellington Hills Center, revised PCD, 15400 Chenal Parkway. Staff recommends approval of the requested revised PCD, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph D, E, and F, and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 12, Z6238-B, Telco Federal Credit Union, PDC, 1400 South Bowman Road. Staff recommends approval of the requested PDC zoning, subject to compliance with comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F, and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item 13, Z9716, The Middle, PCD, southeast corner of Cantrell Road and North Rodney Parham Road. Staff recommends approval of the requested PCD rezoning and land alteration variance, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F, and the staff analysis and the agenda staff report. A traffic study is also required to be submitted by the applicant and approved by the Department of Planning and Development Engineering Division, with any recommendations of the traffic study being implemented for the development. That concludes the consent agenda.
Great. May we have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
Move that we approve the consent agenda, including all staff comments and conditions.
Second.
May we have a roll call vote, please?
Roll call vote to approve the consent agenda. Bedden,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Ames,
Yes.
Hodge,
Yes.
Latour, McDonald. That a yes for Commissioner McDonald? Commissioner McDonald? It's inaudible. Thomas?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes.
And Vogel?
Yes.
The consent agenda is approved.
Great. If your item was on the consent agenda and it was not pulled off the consent agenda, you're welcome to leave. Your item has been approved. Romy, I think I gave you little lists in order that I'd like to go in if possible. So we'll have item A be read.
Item 9.
Item A. Oh, 9 is it? Okay, 9, yeah. I didn't get a card for it until the very last one.
No problem at all. All right. All right. We ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Regular agenda, this is item number 9, Z-9711, Dixon Duplex, conditional use permit at 900 South Park Street. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow the conversion of the existing structure located at 900 South Park Street into a two-family duplex residential dwelling. The applicant will not reside at the property and intends to rent lease both units. The applicant's intent is to remodel the existing 1,246 square foot building to contain 2 units, approximately 623 square feet in area. Each unit will contain 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The applicant is proposing no exterior changes or additions to the existing building or footprint at this time. Although staff is not opposed to a duplex use in this general area, staff is not supportive of the requested CUP to allow conversion of the existing building into a duplex. The site plan indicates a lot size of 2,400 square feet in area. Section 36-255 of the city's zoning ordinance states, in the case of a lot used for a two-family residence, the minimum lot area shall be 7,000 square feet with a minimum width of 50 feet and a minimum depth of 100 feet. Staff feels that the site will be overdeveloped. With the addition of 3 parking spaces proposed along Maryland Avenue, there will be very little yard space left, approximately 600 square feet. The applicant owns the adjacent lot to the south and the lot to the west along Maryland Avenue. Staff recommends using all or parts of the additional lots to accommodate proposed duplex use. Staff recommends denial of the requested CUP. End.
Great. Do we have the applicant present for item 9 on the regular agenda? Is the applicant present for item 9 on the regular agenda? We do have one card, Carol Worley. We don't know if you're for or against it, but Carol Worley.
Chair, just want to remind the chair that if the applicant is not here,
Yeah,
the item cannot be heard.
right.
We cannot let anybody speak either for or against.
Okay, so the applicant is here. Quick question for Carol Worley. Are you for or against this item? Okay, great. Thank you. All right, are you the applicant?
Yep.
Can you approach the podium, please? All right.
I didn't know that was mine.
That's all right. Usually what is customary is we give every applicant 20 minutes to speak on behalf of their item, and then any opposition, which you do not have, would get 20 minutes as well. So the clock is ticking, and it's your turn to speak.
Just turn that old Church of Truth.
You speak a little closer to the mic.
Sorry, my bad. Just wanted to turn that old Church of Truth and Love into a duplex over there. Be about a little less than 700 square feet on each side. And I don't know, just rent it out. Try to give some housing. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it, really.
Okay. Would you like your person in support of the item to speak as well for you? Or herself?
You might do better than me.
My name's Carol Worley. I actually own property that's over on 10th Street, and my son has developed the PRD, the 5 lots that are on Park Street, in addition to the 3 lots across the street. We support that. I mean, I think it's a very interesting project. I think it's a unique project. I think that that area warrants development, and the residential nature of it, whether it's 2 or 1, I think the residential nature of it, of the area, is good to keep. I tend to agree with the commission that, or with staff, I guess, that the parking would be better served to be over on Park Street. That lot on Maryland is absolutely beautiful and screams development of a house or something over in that area. So that part of it I don't disagree with, but there, I can tell you, is plenty of street parking over there also. So I'm not a huge parking person. I think we're way too dependent upon cars and parking, and we should be more dependent on public transportation and walking. So that doesn't offend me at all, the lack of, parking over there. I just think it would probably be better served to be on that little lot right next to it. Yeah, but I do support it. I think it's a great project, and I know staff has recommended denial of it. I don't think the basis for that really is that important, because the fact that it doesn't have a yard and everything, there's plenty of green space over there right now. The lots across the street are not developed, and the lots toward, I guess, to the north probably will never be developed. So there is green space to take your dog out walking, or to go and, sit on the green. But anyway, that's my thought. I do support it, and welcome him to the neighborhood. And I hope that you all, as the commission, will consider it. The lack of eye contact with anyone would lead me to believe that maybe you're not going to, but if you...
No, we're just getting through some technical difficulties and some communications with other commissioners trying to get online, so
Okay.
not intended to show
I just,
disrespect
it's like,
in any way.
I'm the show up here. Look at me.
Doing great.
So, anyway, thank you for your time.
Yes, thank y'all. Well, if you'd like to speak, you have a few more minutes, yes.
I don't know. I missed the whole thing. I just walked in a second ago, so I missed what y'all were saying bad about it.
Oh, we didn't. The staff just recommended the denial of the project, so that should have been communicated, but yeah.
Is there a good reason, I guess?
Staff, would y'all like to answer that question?
No, I didn't. I got you.
As part of the review process, looked at that the duplex was occupying a large amount of the square footage of the lot,
Oh, yeah, it's not a very big lot at all.
and that the parking would reduce any kind of yard area around that structure.
My thought on it being a duplex instead of a house is just that people in a duplex probably wouldn't be as worried about the yard as people trying to buy a house there.
Can I say one more thing in support of it? That this was a church at one point in time, with 0 parking. So it's not like he's taking a parking lot and moving it over into something else. I mean, it was actually a church where people came on Sunday and they parked on the street and everyone was okay with that. I mean, there literally is no parking over in that area and has not been. So again, I'm supporting the project because I don't think parking is a big issue over there. There's ample street parking on both Park, Maryland, 10th Street, and I mean, pretty much everywhere over there, there's ample street parking right now.
That's great information. So is there any questions or comments from the commissioners?
Yeah, I was going to ask a question, Robbie. Is that, I guess this is to Rami, is that kind of the main reason is because you're trying to put a duplex on a lot that small, it just doesn't fit?
Well, what it is, it's the square footage of the area in relation to, the recommended would be 7,000, it's just 2,400. And then if once you put the parking in there, it reduces the yard area to almost.
Almost nothing, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And, the recommendation was that the owner also owns additional lots next to it, and that could be utilized.
So the existing facility would be torn down?
No, that's going to just
No.
divide the church. It's like a big rectangular church, so I was just going to divide it up.
You're remodeling a facility that's already there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Same structure, not any additional
Yeah, same
space
structure.
added.
Yeah, I understand staff's concern, but this sounds like progress to me. In a neighborhood that could probably use progress, so I would probably go against staff's recommendations on this particular time, and I would support it. You're not, it's not like you're trying to create something on a lot that you're remodeling something that's in the neighborhood already, so, yeah. I don't know how the other commissioners feel, but.
Appreciate it.
Do we know if there was designated parking for the church that was there? Like, or were they just parking on the street? That's for the staff, if y'all know.
We're not aware of that. It's not been in use for some time, so we're not aware of it. There's not a parking lot associated with the lot.
Yeah, I mean, like Mr. Price already talked about, our only opposition is just because of the size. And the use of duplex development is still, even though it is more dense, is still intended to be, it's not quite a multifamily like an apartment. It's still to have some of those amenities that a single family has. That's why it's allowed to be on as a conditional use permit on several lower end residential zonings and that type of aspect. So that was just staff's recommendation because we felt like it could be accommodated, better use, than what's there, from converting it. But that's our only reason. It's just a little bit too dense for the property.
Hey, this is Commissioner Vickers, Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
This may be posed for the staff. If the applicant came in, I guess maybe rescinded his application or kind of redid it instead of a duplex to maybe some type of refurbishment of a single unit or something, could that be approved? Or how could he come back in maybe without starting over to the full application to come back maybe and maybe redo his plans, maybe not a duplex, but just to refurbish rehab a single unit for the single family. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
any change from a duplex would be enough that it would constitute another application that he has. So if it was even a single family, other than what he has, if that's not the allowed zone, it would be a new application to be seen by staff. So to modify it would have to be, like you said, they had some other adjacent property that could be utilized. That potentially could be part of that. You know, if that's his property, he's going to utilize some adjacent property for parking. I wouldn't deem that necessarily as a change in application for that. But if it was a change from a duplex use, I would say yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for the applicant. As the property sits right now, is there any parking available?
No parking. No, sir.
You know how old that building is?
Yeah, I think it says 1912.
That's what I thought. A lot of churches built that far back in Little Rock, depended upon off-street parking, and had very little of any parking lot. That's the dilemma.
Yeah.
And so I can see the problem.
Any other comments or questions? Yes.
I have a
please.
question for the applicant. Sorry, this is Commissioner Hodge. The staff has mentioned in the report and in their response to questions here that you own property adjacent or near this proposed site that could be used. Do you have a response to that? Is there plans for that?
My plans
Property
were
that-
to build other single-family homes on it, so.
Okay, that's all I was wondering. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners?
Just for clarity, on this particular property, you want to do a duplex and then the adjacent properties will be single-family homes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And there's a like 40 or 45 foot there, so I could get the 30-foot parking lot and have 3 spots. That's what they said I needed, was 30 spots, so. Still have plenty of room, or some grass. I mean, it's not a lot, but.
Well, if no more questions or comments from the commissioners, I guess we'll take a motion.
Okay. I move for the approval of item Z 9711, including all staff comments and conditions except the recommendation of denial.
Second.
Great, may we have a roll call vote? And we are voting in the affirmative, so if you're voting for it, you're voting for the change, which allows this conditional use permit to be approved. If you're voting against, you're voting against the amendment to the staff's recommendation, which is a denial, correct? Director Collins?
That's correct. So a vote for approves it, a vote against denies it.
Correct. Okay, we've had the motion, and now we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Benton,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hodge,
Yes.
Couture, McDonald,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes, I'm voting for the approval.
Vickers. Vickers, can I get your vote again?
Yes.
And Vogel.
Yes.
9-4, 0 against. Motion passes.
You're approved.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all.
All right. I think we're going to go to item A, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is the applicant for item A here? If so, can you please approach the podium? May we have a reading?
Item A, Z 9353-A, Shields and Associates, PCD, 13108 Lawson Road. The applicant proposes to rezone 5.3 acres from R2 Single Family District to PCD Planned Commercial Development to allow for the construction of 4 buildings that would provide office, warehouse, and commercial storage at this location. Developer will dedicate the right-of-way on Lawson Road when the first phase is constructed and complete Lawson Road street improvements after the construction of building number 3. The proposal calls for the project to be developed in 7 phases. The property is located just outside the city limits and within the city's extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction. The applicant proposes to construct 8 structures with metal siding on this property, which will include a 12,000 square foot office at the front of the property adjacent to Lawson Road, 2 7,200 square foot climate-controlled storage buildings, and an additional 5 7,500 square foot non-climate controlled buildings. The proposal also calls for a 5,600 square foot storage yard to be located between the 2 climate-controlled storage structures. The storage yard will be enclosed with opaque fencing and will be utilized by the construction company, which will occupy the proposed office building. They've included a 100-foot buffer located at the north end of the property. The northern and western borders will include a 6-foot tall fence or opaque screening. The only gate will be located at the storage yard rear building near building number 1. A 36-foot wide access drive from Lawson Road will be located at the southwest corner of the site. A 25-foot paved driveway will be located along the east and west perimeters of the site, as well as along the north side of building number 8 and the north and south sides of building number 1. Paved driveways with widths of 22 feet will be located between the storage buildings. The applicant provided responses and additional information to all issues raised during the staff's review of the application. To the staff's knowledge, there are no outstanding issues. The applicant is requesting no variances with the proposed PCD. Staff recommends approval of the requested PCD zoning subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F, and the staff analysis of the agenda and staff report. That's the end.
So the applicant's at the podium, I see. Great. We have one card in support of, and then we have another card, Thomas Barkley?
Barley, Byerly, Byerly.
And you are the applicant, or you are?
No, I'm speaking for the project, but I hadn't seen the project, so I was looking.
One second, sir. Are you the applicant? Is this your item?
Right. Well,
It is your item, or is it not your item?
I put a card in. Is that what
You put a card in, but you're not the applicant, right?
No.
So are you in support of, or are you against?
I'm for it.
Okay, great. Then the applicant gets the first opportunity to speak, which I think is Mr. Dale there. There are 2 cards in support of, just so you'll know.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Brian Dale with Joe White and Associates. The staff did a really good job of introducing the project. We worked closely with them and even took a deferral to amend the site plan to be more neighborhood friendly. We would like to reserve the rest of our time for rebuttal for anybody that's opposed to it.
Great. Sir, you're welcome to speak now.
Well, we'd like to get a copy of the plans, since it's next door to my property. So how to do that?
So you're in support of, or you're against
I'm
this?
supporting it, you bet.
You are in support of this, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. You got what you needed? All right. There's another person in support of it, Lewis McDonald.
I'm Lewis McDonald. I have lived across the street from said property for over 9 years. The traffic on Lawson is bad day and night, so I don't think adding this to it is going to make a bit of difference. And to the right of the property on the east side, there's already businesses that were grandfathered in before the city kind of took over that area. So I'm definitely in support of it. I think it will help the area. I think the taxes from it alone, because right now it's an empty 5-acre lot, will help.
Thank you.
Do the commissioners have any questions for the applicant? Hearing none, may we have a motion? Oh.
I move for the approval of item Z9353-A, including all staff comments and conditions.
Second.
May we have a roll call vote, please?
Bedden,
Yes.
Yes. Well, I apologize. I did not know that. And what is your name, sir?
My name is Barry Beck.
the card was provided to me after the 4 o'clock cutoff, Commissioner. Would you like the card, please?
It was also provided after gavel.
I do not have your card in my stack.
I held on to the card. It was handed to me well after the meeting started, past 4 o'clock.
As in the bylaws, we did not present it to the chair, and per the bylaws, it is the chair's discretion at that time, but we did not submit the card.
Yeah. I'm sorry, sir. You should have been able to get your card in a little sooner. We're going to go ahead and take our vote like we were planning on it, and I think,
I also sent in an email, and there were 5 other people that I believe sent in emails as well opposing this. Did those emails arrive in your department?
yes, sir. We received all correspondence on all of from the staff, for and against items. But if it's not here, present, at 4 o'clock when we get started, then we kind of have a cutoff time and adhere to that cutoff time. So I apologize for, having the strictness, but as you can see, there's a lot of people and they were able to also get their cards in, I hope, as well. So can we go ahead with the roll call vote, please?
I'll start the roll call vote again.
Thank you.
Bedden,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hodge, Latour,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
It's unanimous. Motion passes.
I think we'll go to 5 and 5.1 now.
Mr. Chairman, Walter Malone from City Staff. I'm going to do a short presentation on item 5, and then Mr. Price is going to follow up with a presentation on 5.1. We'll have a discussion on both items at the same time.
Right.
That's not item 5.
Sir?
The graphic up there is not item 5. It's item 15. That's not item 5 either. That's item 16. There we go. This is a land use plan amendment on Chico Road from residential low density to neighborhood commercial. There is residential on the plan, both zoning and land use plan to the south and to the west, to the north and to the east across Chico Road. There's commercial on the land use plan, and there's commercial zoning in place. The primary area of commercial is to the north at the intersection of Chico and Baseline, but their commercial does extend all the way south. And this, where this application is the southern, basically the southern boundary of where that commercial extends down Chico Road. And then there's, of course, a large church in between Man and Baseline, which is shown as public institutional in the land use plan. The development in this part of Little Rock was developed, a lot of it prior to annexation, and it was developed when Chico Road was a 2-lane road. Since then, it's been widened to a 5-lane arterial with sidewalks. And that's post-development of most of the lots that face Chico Road. There has been development of both residential and non-residential commercial and office in the general area. So has been some in the last 10 to 20 years. So there is some demand for new construction of both types of uses, both non-residential and single family in the general vicinity. And in just before 2000, as you see on the plan, there's suburban office and mixed use on the west side of Chico for the lots that face Chico. This was done again for most of the lots that face Chico Road to provide alternate uses to the single family uses along Chico Road. Again, this is a request to neighborhood commercial, not commercial. And the northern part of this property is actually already zoned C3, and there's C3 general commercial zoning further to the north. The neighborhood commercial designation is designed to be lower scale commercial and can be next to or close to residential. And since it's on an arterial and major road and close to residential, we feel like neighborhood commercial is an appropriate use for change to land use plan. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Price. I'll be available if you have any questions.
Thank you. I think we got a little static, so we'll hold up for just a second, and then we'll let Mr. Price get his. All right, I think we got the feedback out.
Item 5.1, Z9713, rezoning from R2 to C1 at 9204 Chico Road. The applicant is proposing to rezone the 0.19 acres at 9204 Chico Road from R2 residential to C1 commercial to allow for the use as a restaurant. The city's future land use plan designates the property as RL or residential low density. The proposed C1 zoning will require an amendment to the city's land use plan, which is a separate item on this agenda. Staff is supportive of the requested C1 zoning. Staff views the request as reasonable. The proposed C1 zoning will be consistent with other commercial zonings on adjacent properties and will represent a continuation of the existing zoning pattern. Staff believes the proposed C1 zoning will have no adverse impact on the general area. Staff recommends approval of the requested C1 zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. We just have one card against. Troy Leahy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the Little Rock Planning Commission and planning staff. My name is Troy Leahy.
Leahy, I apologize.
That's all right. If you was the first guy that messed it up, I'd feel bad, but that's all right. I used to have a policy, if a guy knew me, and I got in trouble doing this a time or two, I wouldn't answer if he called my name wrong. But anyway, I still hadn't got over all that yet. We had a telephone conference yesterday, and we discussed this project. And the vote was 2 against and 1 for. Now, we have a number of questions. Are they using all 3 tracks as shown on a survey by Thomas Engineering? By Thomas Engineering. Or they're just using the one where the residence is located? There is no house number as required by the city ordinance on this house. The 2x3 sign about rezoning is on the front door, behind the screen door, and the phone number is not visible from the street. In fact, the business, you've got to get up to the door and open the screen door to read the phone number. The chain link fence in the front of the house does not meet the requirements for the ordinance for fencing. Also, the fence is on the street right of way. I think the applicant should comply with the existing ordinance before submitting a request for approval. We were not furnished a drawing showing parking layout. If they're going to have a restaurant, I kind of feel like they need some parking there. The president of Southwest Stewart was told by the applicant that they would be only planning on operating for breakfast and lunch. They would not be operating for the evening meal. We ask that they make that a part of their application for the breakfast and lunch only and no evening meal. And we have a question, are they planning on serving alcoholic beverages? This does not feel right. There have been a number of food outlets along Chico Road from Baseline, from the railroad to Baseline, all the way down to Mableville Cutoff, and they're all closed. For some reason or other, they can't make it in there. And I hate to see this lady come in and spend a lot of money and go under. But that's their privilege to do that, and I thank you for your time.
Any questions for the staff from the commission?
Is the commissioner, may I speak?
Yeah.
Is the applicant here?
The applicant was a city, correct? Okay. She is here. Can you approach the podium?
I'm nervous. I don't know if I'll be able to talk.
That's all right.
Okay.
So basically, I just want to know a little bit about some of the plans that you're planning to do on this property. Mr. Troy brought up some good questions about just the land use and if you're using all three of the plats of the property to extend, or will you be using just the residential home that's there right now?
I'm just gonna use that right now and build the kitchen inside, if that's okay.
Try and speak in the mic.
Can you speak in the mic, please?
Yeah, I'm just gonna use that and, rebuild the kitchen and whatever the health departments need for me to.
What are the plans for the other two tracts of the property?
You mean the lot next to it?
Yes.
Well, that's gonna be the parking lot.
Parking?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a reason that I'm not sure if staff placed the information on the door, or is that from the applicant? Is that on the property?
We provide the placards, and it is up to the applicant to place it on the property. Just needs to be visible. That is a bylaw requirement. The state requirement is just that it is posted in the paper of prominent circulation 15 days prior to the meeting. All other notifications are supplemental to that. And so I do understand they said it was on the door.
Behind the screen door.
There's nothing in there that says that. It just has to be able to be visible on the property.
Can I talk? It is visible. I mean, I had put it there like a month ago. Mr. Romming had given it to me maybe the first week that I applied. So it been there for a while, and I mean, you be able to see it from the street. So.
What is the property currently being used for?
It's just empty. I just bought it probably like 6 months ago.
Okay. So it's vacant.
Yeah.
And have you met with the Southwest Little Rock community to get feedback and to share your plans with what you're going to do with the property? I heard Mr. Troy say that it was 3 people total, maybe 4 on the call. So I'm just wanting to know if you were able to speak with any other of the other residents or.
No, I have a food truck, on the lot that I work every day, so Nobody had come to me and say anything, so I really don't know. I'm pretty much worked the food truck Thursday through Sunday, and nobody really had come to me and asked me anything. I really haven't been anywhere either, so.
You're present on the property pretty much every
Yeah. From 11 to 9.
I think another commissioner had a question.
This Diana Thomas. This building was vacant for a while, hasn't it been? There wasn't a prior business there, was it?
I can't get what she say.
Was this property vacant when you bought it?
No, it was an older guy that he never get out. I
So
mean,
it
he been there
was
for
occupied.
years. And really, nobody know that he was living there because he was a really older guy.
Does that answer your question?
Okay. Yes, because I thought this was vacant. Do you currently have your food truck on this lot right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, that makes sense then. I'm in support of this. I think this will be a good business may as well if she's already on the lot, and the use for this land probably be a good idea for that area.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Any other questions from commissioners for the applicant?
What will be your hours of operation?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not sure if I want to do breakfast and lunch or lunch and dinner. I really thinking about it right now.
Okay.
Maybe I think I might want to open from 6 to 1 or 6 to 2.
Just my thoughts. I think it's very important that you do talk with those residents who are close by. There are some residential homes that are there. And this is just me as a commissioner, as a person. I think it's great due diligence to let them know that you will be operating and what your operating hours will be, so they'll know pretty much what to expect.
Okay.
So for those reasons, I'm going to vote no at this time.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? Hearing none, we'll take a motion.
You want these taken separately?
Yes, please, sir.
Let's first do the item Z 9713. I move that we approve item Z 9713, including all staff comments and conditions. That was a rezoning of R2 to C1.
Could we do it in the reverse order?
You actually, yes, I was about to say that. You have to do the land use plan amendment first.
Okay, I apologize.
No worries.
It's okay.
Thank you for the
Mr.
correction.
We'll get a chance to do it again in just a second.
I move for the approval of item LU 2022-15-02, the land use plan amendment, including all staff comments and conditions.
Thank you. May we have a roll, or a second?
Be clear, this is for.
Second.
Great. May we have a roll call vote?
Be clear, this item is for the land use and will be followed by the item. Bedden,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hodge. Sorry, Commissioner Hodge, can you repeat your reply?
I'm sorry, yes.
Thank you. Latour,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
and Vogel.
Yes.
Your land use amendment is unanimous. Motion passes.
And may we have a motion for item 5.1 now?
I move for the approval of item Z 9713, including all staff comments and conditions.
Is there a second?
Can I hear a second?
Second.
Now we have a second. May we have a roll call vote on item 5.1, please?
Sir, Bedden,
Yes?
Brooks,
No?
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hodge,
Yes.
Latour.
Yes.
Can you repeat your reply, Commissioner Latour?
Yes.
Thank you. McDonald? Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Vickers? And Hodge? Vogel.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. And now we'll have item 6.1 or 6 and 6.1, I guess.
Mr. Chair and Commission, Walter Malone, Planning Staff. I'll be doing item 6, the land use plan amendment, and Mr. Price will be doing the zoning again, like the previous set of items. This is a land use plan change request on Asher Avenue. Currently, Asher Avenue is it's a minor arterial, and on the land use plan, the lands fronting Asher are either mixed use, commercial, or public institutional. The areas shown as commercial tend to be areas that have historically been, commercial, and the areas that are shown as mixed use on the plan are areas which have historically been single-family homes. This is one of those mixed-use areas that this application's in. The application is, the eastern portion of it is 2 single-family structures that have been single-family structures, and the western portion is a two-story building with a parking area on the site, which has been used in the past as, along with the school, which is the same ownership across the street. The blocks immediately to the north and west of this property are owned by 3 different religious organizations, and on those blocks are a daycare, a school, and a church. There's also Brown Janitorial Supplies, also just a little west of this site on Asher Avenue. Asher, as in the last land use case, most of the development in this area was done when Asher Avenue was a 2-lane road. Asher has been widened. It is now a 3-lane road with bicycle lanes on both sides, class 2 bicycle lanes, together with sidewalks on both sides. So this has impacted the lots on both sides of Asher Avenue. And as in the other previous case, since 2010, there has been activity of both single family and commercial, as well as public, quasi-public sort of uses in the area on either side of Asher Avenue. So there has been at least some demand for all types of uses in the immediate vicinity of this application area. The site, as I mentioned just a minute ago, is the same ownership as the property to the immediate north and to the immediate west, which has historically been used for public, quasi-public sort of uses, school uses, as well as there's a daycare further over. And so this is a continuation of that use pattern. We feel like that mixed use to commercial would be an okay change in this area, since there is commercial on the land use plan immediately to the east on the north side of Asher Avenue, where there's historically been some commercial uses. We do want to note that the mixed use further to the east on the south side is predominantly single-family houses. But we do feel like it's an appropriate change for this block to be changed to commercial, since the surrounding uses to the north and to the west are all non-residential, either quasi-public uses or commercial uses.
Thank you. Are we going to have a reading of 6.1 and then allow the applicant to 6.1 join the podium?
6.1, Z9719, rezoning from R3 to C3 at 3301, 3305, 3317, and 3319 Asher Avenue. The applicant is proposing to rezone 4 lots, a total of 0.97 acres at 3301, 3305, 3317, and 3319 Asher Avenue from an R3 single-family district to C3 general commercial district. The proposed rezoning is to allow church-related uses associated with the Total Outreach for Christ Ministries. The city's future land use plan designates this property as mixed use. A land use amendment to the commercial C is a separate item on this agenda. Staff is supportive of the requested C3 zoning. Staff views the request as reasonable. The proposed C3 zoning will represent a continuation of the non-residential zoning along the south side of Asher Avenue between West Roosevelt Road and South Woodrow Street. Asher Avenue is classified as a minor arterial roadway by the city's master street plan. Commercial zoning is typically appropriate for properties which front arterial roadways. Staff believes the proposed C3 zoning will have no adverse impact on the general area. Staff recommends approval of the requested C3 zoning. Thank you.
Great. May the applicant approach the podium. Hi. You're welcome to tell us about your project, or you can then defer your time, or you can defer to your two opposition cards that you have here and save your time for after they speak.
I'll save my time for after they speak.
Thank you, sir. May Theodore Berry come to the podium? Theodore Berry? Okay. Then Tanya Berry Redden?
My name is Tanya Berry Redden. I am the daughter of Theodore Berry, so I will be speaking on his behalf. And in regards to Robert and Carolyn Smith, the rezoning, I do have some questions for them, as my parents have been there for 47 years. And it's been stated here that they're wanting to do this Christ's most valuable players who have been planted in the hood to do good deeds. My question is, what is your vision? And as far as your outreach that you've stated, who do you reach out to? Because you're never in our neighborhood actually reaching out to us, but instead you're wanting to come in and create all of these, the rezoning that you're doing. It's not being discussed amongst the people that's in the neighborhood. Let me see what else I had. 3301, 3305, those are residential neighborhoods, and I'm pretty sure those are the people that live there, that works at her, that's her housing that she has for her faith-based workers to perform their duties. So we're gonna say that we're against the rezoning there. As like I stated before, there's no outreach for the community, and you know that if you're in a drug-infested, gang-violent community, you should be working to fix this community instead of steady adding things that's only beneficial for you, because it's not beneficial for us. And I'll let them answer the questions as I take my notes. Thank you.
Thank you. Tanya. Sorry. Is the applicant ready to speak? Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm Pastor Robert Smith, and we pastor on Asher Avenue. We moved on to Asher Avenue in 1988 when the former theological training center was there, but it was boarded up, 99 windows boarded. Brown Street between Asher and Roosevelt was the main prostitution stroll in the city when we moved over there. The Crips and the Bloods were at war when we moved over there. Shootouts were regular when we moved over there. We spent over $1 million renovating and reaching out to the community. We built homes, renovated those that are there, and we started a preschool K through 12th grade in Christian education, and we've been doing that on Asher Avenue for the past 30 years. Everybody in the community knows us. There's no one that lives there that don't know us. We walked with the prostitutes. We dealt with the pimps. We dealt with the Crips and the Bloods. In the 90s, when Governor Huckabee called a special session for gang violence because we made national news, he had me address the both House and Senate together in a special meeting on gang violence. At that time, we spoke and we prayed over the joint session. And things began to settle down just a little bit. But when we moved over there, you couldn't be there for an hour without shootings. We've had 2 drive-by shootings where I live. I live on Brown Street. We've been there since, like I said, in 1988. So I understand that some people have not been touched like we'd like to touch them yet, but we built the gymnasium, we built the school, we built the outreach center in the back, we built the outdoor courtyards for basketball for the community. We've torn down a few houses and we are building new homes right there on Brown Street. And we're in the process of renovating right now a house that was burnt and had been shot up several times on the corner of Asher and Brown. We bought the house, we gutted it out, we're renovating it now, the electricians are over there now, the plumbers are there, the heating and air guys are there, the siding guys are there. And we lived there, we worked there, and have been there for over 30 years. So when we say we're in the hood to do some good, we're not going anywhere, we're going to be there. We just want to make some progress. And this zoning change it's already commercial. The way they drive down Brown Street between Roosevelt and Asher is commercial. Even with the extended lane on Asher Avenue, Asher means happy, but I tell them it don't mean safe. So we're there to make it safe. They put a light out there for us because of our students crossing the street, going back and forth from elementary and high school. So I understand anyone that would have a concern that we'll not touch them like we want to touch them. But I appreciate the masterful job that the representative shared about our vision. And I'm open for any other questions.
Any questions from the commission for the applicant?
I'd like to make a comment. I'm a lifelong resident of Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm very familiar with the work that your church has done. I applaud the work that you've done. You've been in that community for a very, very long time. And I just want to go on record as supporting you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other comments or questions by the commission?
Yes, I would like to echo the words from my colleague there. I too know the work you've done in that neighborhood, that community. I've seen the lives that has been changed in that neighborhood, from teenagers, from children, all the way up to adults and seniors. So you have my definitely have my full support on extending the vision and helping it come to pass.
Thank you, sir.
Any other commissioners? Hearing none, may we have
Commissioner Vickers.
Oh, sorry, Commissioner Vickers?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
No, I just wanted to, I guess, piggyback off of what the other commissioners have said. Definitely know the history and the work, and just say keep up the good fight and the good work. I definitely support.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments by the commission? Hearing
To
none.
Sherry Latimer, City Attorney's Office. My apologies, sir. I would like to remind the commissioners that when it comes to a vote, they are not voting on the work that's being done necessarily. That's not before them today. I certainly appreciate the comments from everybody. However, I would ask that you keep your focus on the application. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I think we are. So with that said, may we have a motion for item 6?
I move for the motion, for the approval of items LU 20220901, including all staff comments and conditions.
Second.
May we have a roll call vote?
Benton,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hodge, Latour,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Thomas,
I'm going to pass on voting on this item.
Vickers, and Vogel.
Yes.
Motion passes with one abstention.
May we have a motion for item 6.1, please?
I move for the approval of item 6.1 Z9719, including all staff comments and conditions.
Second.
May we have a roll call vote, please?
Benton,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hodge, Latour,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Vickers. I'm sorry,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas. Vickers
Yes.
and Vogel.
Yes.
Go back to Commissioner Thomas. You gonna vote yes, abstain, or no?
Excuse me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you now. I need a vote.
I'm sorry.
Hmm?
Yeah, I'm abstaining from voting on this item.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. The motion passes with one abstention.
Thank you. Applicant and the Reddens, appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you very much. Very much.
Romy, which one did we have next? Going back to number 3. All right.
Item number 3, S-1499-Q, Lot 8R, Block 309, Original City of Little Rock, replat, northwest corner of West 11th Street and South Cross Street. The applicant proposes to subdivide 0.3 acres into 3 lots for 2 new residential duplexes. The proposed Lot 8B will take access from the west side of South Cross Street and Lot 8A from the north side of West 11th Street. The property is currently comprised of Lot 8R, Block 309 of the original City of Little Rock. The applicant proposes the lots be as follows. Lot 8A is 4,248 square feet in area, or 0.10 acres. Lot B, 4,335 square feet in area, 0.10 acres. And Lot 8C is 4,312 square feet in area and approximately 0.10 acres. The applicant is requesting several variances of a proposed replat as follows. Variance to allow reduced lot width per section 36-256 for lots 8A, 8B, and 8C. Minimum 70-foot width required, 50.10 foot lot width proposed. Variance to allow reduced lot depth, sections 31-232 for lots 8A, 8B, and 8C. Minimum 100-foot depth required, 86.05 lot depth proposed. Variance to allow reduced rear building setbacks, section 36-256 for lots 8A and 8B. Minimum 25 feet required, 5 feet proposed. Variance to allow a reduced front building setback, section 36-256 for lot 8C. Minimum 25 feet required, 24 feet proposed existing. The property is bordered on the north, west, and east primarily by R4 residential properties with a PDR, Planned Development Residential, and an O3 office zone properties to the northeast across South Cross Street. To the staff knowledge, there are no outstanding issues related to this replat request. The applicant has addressed issues raised by staff during staff's review of this plat. The subdividing of the property should have no adverse impact on the surrounding properties. Staff recommends approval of proposed preliminary plat and associated variances, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in the paragraphs D and E and the staff analysis and the agenda staff report. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant for item number 3 present? Thank you. Can you approach the podium? How are you tonight?
Good evening, Jonathan Hope with Hope Consulting. I'll just reserve my time till after for rebuttal.
Okay, thank you. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. So we'll just go in the order that I had them in. So remember, opposition, y'all have 20 minutes as a collective, so please allow your other people who are in opposition to speak. Annette Shed. And yet? Yes. Is your name Annette Shed? Okay. You don't want to go first. Okay. Rebecca Stewart.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rebecca Stewart. I live at 1212 West 11th Street in Little Rock. My property abuts the boundary of these applicants' property from my front door all the way to the back. The owner of this property has made application, as you heard, to split the existing 2 lots into 3 lots and to reduce side setbacks and rear setbacks from 25 feet to 5 feet. I and several others do object to that. I wanted to first say that for over 4 decades, the homes or the neighborhood known as the original city has been made up primarily of single-family homes. And for the most part, it's done really well. Over the past few years, there have been a few little bumps, but the neighbors are very close-knit, and we're very intentional about maintaining the neighborhood, the feel of the neighborhood. And we do believe that the addition of, or the erection of 3 duplexes on 2 lots with 5-foot setbacks would be a negative. It would impact our neighborhood in a negative way. I want to, excuse me, I am a little bit nervous for some reason, I don't know why. If approved, the rear of the additional duplex building would line up with my home, starting again, as I said, from the backyard all the way up to the front yard, all along my driveway. So the idea of these homes setting up within 5 feet of that line is too close for comfort. It just is. It's almost, it appears to create a wall. And I guess one way of describing it is to say it feels as though sometimes, when you're talking to someone and they step in a little too close, invading your private space, so to speak. Well, the one thing we can do in a case like that is we can step back and reclaim our comfort zone, our comfort space. You can't do that when they build a house that's right on your property line. That's just a major concern. We have enjoyed the neighborhood, we enjoy our front porches, we enjoy our backyards, and we feel that the owner is erecting these duplexes really for rental purposes. So now we have what is tantamount to an apartment complex, all 6 new units on a corner, which is going to increase congestion, it's going to increase noise, we believe. We certainly believe that there is a safety hazard. I will give you an example. The house that was on that property before the current owner caught fire a few years ago. And it was observing the 25-foot requirement. That house caught on fire, it burned my house. And I know if it had been at that 5-foot limit, my house would have been damaged much more than it was, even though it burned the entire siding on my house, and maybe would have put others in the house in danger. So for that reason, of course, we think it is a safety hazard. It's definitely, if they erect and they're permitted to have those duplexes on the corner, it's going to change the character of the neighborhood. And that is very, very important to us. We're constantly working to do rehab. We buy homes, some people are, or in our own homes, we are improving them. Definitely, there's going to be an impact to the value of the property, because who is going to want to buy a house, even if they do buy a house in that area, they're going to be affected by the fact that there's now like an apartment complex on the corner. I'm going to say, I have other things to say, but the main thing is that we want and invite others to build in the neighborhood, grow the neighborhood, bring families. We've had new families coming in with children, and we don't want to negatively affect the owner of this lot. We just would like for her to creatively think of a way to use that property in a way that it honors the traditions of our neighborhood, what we're trying to accomplish, and at the same time meet her own goals. But at this time, it is negatively affecting all of us. I'm going to yield to the other speakers. If there's time left, I'll bring a couple of other points.
Thank you. Catherine Renee DeLapp. Hope I pronounced that close.
It was perfect and quite amazing. I don't get that a lot. I live at 1218 West 11th, which is separated by one house from the proposed development. My understanding is that this is currently one large parcel to be divided into three. As I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you're only allowed in an R4 area to put one duplex on your parcel of land. And so this would effectively take this parcel from supporting 0, because they've already got one there, to 6 units of housing. Because if 7,000 feet is supposed to be what each lot has to support a duplex, we're in a zone R4, which, as you know, is for the development of duplex dwellings with a minimum of 7,000 square feet. This one has 13,000 square feet. Not 21, 13, far, far short of what is called for. Each of the lots is like 4,500, I think, instead of 7,000. And that's significantly smaller, 4,300, I guess, which is significantly, different than what was planned. In fact, if you did the math, and if my math is right, we're essentially talking about the equivalent of a 18 unit per acre as described in a multifamily district, which is, a density far beyond what we're talking. This is less than 1/3 of an acre, supporting 6 units of housing. If in those housing there are 2 people, then of course doing the math, it comes out to be 12 people and all of the cars and the rest that goes with that. There is no reason for a setback to be granted in my mind. There is ample land for a lesser number of units to have been built, but not this sort of overreaching that's going on right now. This is a very, very tight neighborhood and has had to really struggle to keep itself together against a lot of odds. And I'm really proud to live there, love my neighbors, know my neighbors. we've developed a house nearby and sold it at a modest price, but had a single family move in, kind of what we want to stabilize the neighborhood. This is inherently destabilizing, I believe. And looking at the existing dwelling, which has a red line to the back, it's already only 13 feet from the line, is my understanding. And its line, it looks to me like that's also proposing that it should be 5 feet. So the presence of, a large consulting firm together with the owner makes me really wonder if what we aren't looking at is actually a significant change coming to our neighborhood rather than the sort of intentional development that might really help us. The thing of emotionally is that there's a 100-year-old tree on that property again near the sidewalk. In fact, it comes into the sidewalk such that the sidewalk goes around it. No plan that I have seen takes that into account in any way, shape, or form. And so I don't see a good argument for granting this variance. Not only do I oppose it, I don't see an argument for it. I would ask that you can deny the replatting of this and the 5-foot setback, and to do really anything within your moral power to discourage the destruction of that tree. And if you do decide, to go ahead, cut this into 3, all the rest, if you would at least take the tree and require as part of the deed that be preserved in the future. It is really, really important to our neighborhood. You don't get a 100-year-old oak every day. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Suzanne Farr?
Thanks also for the pronunciation of my name, which is often not pronounced as it is. When I first received notice about the plan, just the original plan before asking for this setback, it was described as housing for seniors. And so with ample space for little duplexes for seniors to live in. And so I didn't object to it. And then with this requested expansion, which is now not for seniors, it's for, I guess, anyone of any age over 18 who can rent, I don't know. It seems an indication that the owner is considering a much larger development that goes against the current restrictions in the community that, as far as I know, within that segment between Philander Smith and Children's Hospital, there's some duplexes, but not apartment complexes. So, when I first heard it, I was like Renee. I just thought, well, this is great for seniors. There won't be much traffic. There will be, opportunities for seniors that really needed it. So I was in support of the person who owns the property. But now it looks very different. So I would ask if it not do that squeezing in those duplexes, so that I also focused on that tree. I was like, oh great, senior housing, but woodmen don't cut that tree. But here, I hope that this is not what's happening in our neighborhood. This is a neighborhood we all struggle for, a neighborhood where we live in building community all the time. And you see that. You see people turn out on the street as soon as anyone needs something. They are there, and they're giving to one another. And that's a great thing for Little Rock. It's a great thing in this time that we're living in, where we have community, where people consider mutual aid and mutual care for one another. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Tommy Sullivan? Well, I'll put you at the back of the list, so Tommy Sullivan. Tommy Sullivan. I guess it is your turn, Annette Shedd.
I did not want to go before my elders. I have also been in this community since I was 18, so it's been many, many, many years, not to tell my age. But I am one of the people in the community that they call when they need to cut their grass, and they can't afford to fix their lawnmowers. Our community is really, like they have expressed, very tight-knit. We try really, really hard to police and govern ourselves to a way that we can stay to the city's beautification. We work really hard on it. I'm not the only one that cuts other people's grass. We really just step up as much as we can. And like they expressed before, this space is so tight and it's gonna create so much hardship and all the work that we have been doing in this community. It's really heartbreaking that these units are gonna be so tight. I'm opposed to it. I'm not opposed to them being lesser units. It's just too many. And the variance is just too close to Miss Rebecca's house. And as she said, when the house caught fire and the other house caught on fire, I was living there as a young adult and we had to run and try to put stuff out because it was so close. And I feel like it's our responsibility to make sure we take care of our seniors, and we have so many in that neighborhood that we have to take care of them. And it's gonna add so much traffic, it's gonna be a hardship on them. And I don't know how they're gonna be able to rest at night. Before I even came here today, the neighbors were calling me and saying how they didn't get notification of this hearing. And because they're seniors, it's hard for them to come out. And I tried, but I could not get a bus together to bring more people. Because one of them had me getting a cat out of a drain and she didn't know who to call. Because everyone has my number. And y'all see me in here before around this neighborhood, and we try really hard to be there for each other. And I feel like the parking space is not gonna be adequate. Like they said, if you have a couple, it's gonna be 12 bodies in that house, and it's gonna be so much wear on the minds of my neighbors and myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Applicant, I think you requested the opportunity to speak after the opposition. We have a few minutes left, yeah.
One of the things that I wanted to know is, why do we have setbacks? I don't know that much about, property regulations and that kind of thing. And so I found a lot of definitions. And one that particularly stood out to me is that the property should not be an infringement of the rights of others or their enjoyment of the land. So it even talks about personal effects or impact on individual. I just think that while we're talking about allowing setbacks, we need to ask, will that 5-foot setback be as effective as the 25-foot setback? Or will it indeed have an impact to the neighbors?
Thank you. Applicant?
Good evening, Jonathan Hope with Hope Consulting. This is, I'll try to go through their comments. They mentioned several things. One of the things they mentioned was this was previously geared towards older people. I think originally in 2007 this came through and was proposed and approved for a PRD with age restriction on these 3 lots. So that had already happened previously, and then today we're coming back asking for that to be removed. And so to do that, we have to go through this process of replatting this and asking for these variances to go back to that without the age restrictions. This is part of the original City of Little Rock. This is actually 3 lots. So the original 3 lots, 7, 8, 9, were actually more narrow than this. Those lots were around 43 and a half feet wide. So these are actually wider than the original. And we're not asking for a setback on the side setbacks at all. The existing dwelling right there is right at the maximum 5 feet. In this R4, it is 5 feet side setbacks and 10%. We are asking for that variance on the back. It is a beautiful spot. They keep it nice, grass mowed. It's a good looking little quarter-acre spot there in this neighborhood, no doubt about it. There is a huge tree, big tree. You can actually see it on lot 8A. You can kind of see the sidewalk where it's kind of bent out. It looks like that tree is actually partially on the right-of-way. You know, so it I don't want to speak for sure, but it possibly may be saved. What else was mentioned? The product on 8C is going to be very similar to these other two, which is a nice little duplex that's there now. So I think it falls in suit with what is there in this immediate location. Obviously, in the surrounding areas, we have office and single family, but in general, I think that our lot sizes are conforming with the original city that were 43.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the commission?
Hey, Mr. Chairman, just a quick question for the applicant. So I'm on Google Earth right now. So just to make sure I've got this straight, the little green house, is that currently a duplex?
That's currently 8C.
That's 8C, okay.
Correct.
And is that a duplex now?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, but you don't have control of that lot?
That's the applicant also owns that.
It owns that, okay.
Or the owner.
Right. It's got two drives, so I believe that it is, okay. So the same applicant that developed that home is looking to do this development on lots 8A and 8B.
Right. I mean, it's one parcel right now, but it was 3 lots, or part of 3 lots previously.
And the 5-foot setback, is that in the back only?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So that bumps up against, there's a White House. That would bump up against the driveway of that White House, the 5-foot setback.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like a retaining wall there along the property line.
Wood fence there, yeah, okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had that right in my head. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions by the commission for the applicant or staff?
Yes, hi, this is Commissioner Thomas. I have a question for staff. The second, person that was not in support of this application made a point that I wanted to propose to staff about density and something to the effect of allowances of the number of duplexes for that area. Can staff speak to that?
Yes, Commissioner Thomas, this is Director Collins. The whole area is, if we go ramp the zoning map, is zoned R4. And so in the R4 zoning, there's not really density set. There's a minimum lot acreage that is set in R4 zoning, and that's what Mr. Price read out from staff. What we're looking at is that 7,000 square feet. This development is a little bit tied to the planned development that was approved, and a portion was developed. That's where that existing duplex that Commissioner Hart had mentioned, it's on the north side. That was one portion that was built. Since then, the applicant had asked for a revocation of the planned development, which would remove that from what the rest of the lots, and including this one, which reverted back to R4. So that's why it is before you. It's not necessarily that the density. We're looking for R4 to be on a 7,000 square foot lot. And so that's why the variance for the subdivision before the Planning Commission, because it didn't meet that requirement. And then previously you heard us not support a duplex because we felt like that was,
it was even smaller than what we're looking at right now.
Yes. Yeah, that does seem really tight.
And so
When
this
I
does
looked
is
at it on the
tight.
map, it does look really tight. And I mean, for a duplex to be developed there, I don't know if that goes with the area and the current land use for that neighborhood. So for that reason, I'm going to be voting no. I can't support that application.
Any other comments or questions by commissioners?
Yes, Chairman. Applicant, you made a comment earlier that there was an age on the property and you're coming to have that age removed. Can you tell us more about the age? What is that detail?
I think that was in 2007. I was not a part of that, but the staff might have more knowledge of that than.
Was there some type of promise or commitment?
There is no age restriction on this. I mean, that was part of that plan development that went through, and that was on there, and it was revoked, I do believe, in the past year and a half. It went through. We'd have to go back and look at it, but currently the zoning of the property is R4, and just the subdivision of the property is before the commission. Not any conditions as far as age restriction. That is a zoning matter.
Okay. Next question. Were you able to, or the seller of the property, able to meet with the homeowners, the residents in the area to discuss the plans?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions by the commission?
Thank you.
Hearing none, may we have a motion?
I move for the approval of item S1499-Q, including all staff comments and conditions.
May we have a roll call vote, please?
I need a second, please.
Second.
Oh, sorry. Yes, thank you. Now that we've had a second, may we have a roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Roll call vote. Bedden?
No.
Brooks?
No.
Hart?
Yes.
Haynes?
Yes.
Hodge? Commissioner Hodge? Latour?
Yes.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, Commissioner Hodge, may we have your vote, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me? Okay. Commissioner Latour, can you repeat yours, please?
Yes.
McDonald?
No.
Thomas?
No.
Vickers? Can you repeat your vote, please, Commissioner Vickers?
No.
Thank you. And Vogel?
No.
The motion fails.
Mr. Chairman, did we get Commissioner Hodges' vote? I don't think we did, but it won't.
I mean, she could not hear. We heard you, Commissioner Hodge, but you could not hear us. May we have your vote?
Okay,
please?
yeah. I'm having connection issues. Can you please restate the motion and then I can vote?
The motion said we move for the approval of item S1499-Q, including all staff comments and conditions.
I just had her as a no vote. I mean, she didn't vote since we had connection issues. So I guess that'd be 3-6-0. Is that what you had? Okay. Sorry, Commissioner Hodge. Hope the connection issues can be remedied. I think we're moving on to item 15. Is that correct?
I think they are remedied, so my vote wasn't documented.
Okay. What should we do, Director Collins?
We had already took the vote. We didn't have Hodge, so we would just proceed. We will note it down in the minutes of the meeting that we didn't record Commissioner Hodges' vote for this one, and hopefully when we get to the next one, we will be able to, she'll be online and can hear us good.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Item 15.
Mr. Chairman and Planning Commission.
Excuse me, this Commissioner Thomas, on that last one we just voted on. So was that passed or was it
No,
denied?
it failed. It was 3 yes
Okay, failed.
votes, 6 no votes, and Commissioner Hodges' vote.
Okay, thank you.
Again, Walter Malone from planning staff. This is a master street plan amendment request before you. The request is to adopt an alternative design standard for Fraser Pike from Roosevelt to Zuber Road. That's through the College Station community. And Fraser Pike has been classified as a minor arterial for decades. It's a minor arterial, if it's built to standards, is a 4 to 5 lane road. And what's out there today is a 2-lane road. Fraser Pike has historically been the connection from Little Rock to the southeast along the Arkansas River via College Station. From College Station, it proceeds east and south along the river and then curves back towards Wrightsville, and joining a second road makes connection to the Wrightsville community to the south of this location. The area around this area, the area to the east is the Port Industrial Park, which has been developed over the last couple decades. In addition to that, we've had the construction of Interstate 430, which is gives access both to the airport and to the port area, as well as across the river for connections from 30 over to 40 for interstate connections. The Fraser Pike, as I just mentioned, has not been improved in this section. It's a 2-lane road, and the portion of it east of Zuber Road has had a alternate design standard already approved, which is 2 lanes with shoulders. So it has a reduced standard already to the east. As I mentioned, the freeway changes and the development of the port area. In the more recent years, there's been an influx or an increase in truck traffic through the College Station community. Either they're taking the National Airport exit and coming south to College Station and then going east into the port area, and or they're coming off of the Old Pine Bluff Freeway at Dixon and coming up, and then also through the College Station area to access the port area. So there's been, this is relatively new as far as the numbers. The city would like to try to address this, and this is part of the trying to address the increased truck traffic, aka try to decrease or eliminate the truck traffic cutting through the College Station community, would be to adopt a reduced design standard from Fraser Pike, so nobody would think that this is going to be or is a 4-lane or 5-lane road, but have an alternate design standard that it would be a 2-lane road, 11-foot travel lanes, which is approximately what's there today, with no paved shoulders, which again is approximately what's there now. There are a couple places in College Station that do have shoulders, but for the most part, the area from Roosevelt to Zuber does not have shoulders. So the design standard would be to have 2 11-foot travel lanes with sidewalks and no paved shoulders. That would be the standard of this road for the future. And the hope is this action, together with other actions that the city may take in the future, may help the citizens of College Station with their truck traffic issues that they're having to deal with now.
Thank you. So who is the applicant right now? The city? Right. So
That's
one
30
second.
seconds of your time. Austin Porter Jr. on behalf of the Progressive League of College Station.
1 second, sir. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second.
I'm just stating we're supported. We've had meetings in the community. We do support this. Thank you.
Right. We have a little bit of protocol, so you can.
I understand.
You can have a seat. We're good. Thank you. We note it. All right. So Carolyn Ward, are you for or against this? You are in support. Okay. So we have two cards. Carolyn Ward in support is going to pass, and Brian Day, who is also in support of this item. Would you like to speak, Mr. Day?
No, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, we're just here to answer questions. We've worked closely with the College Station community, and we think this could solve some of our problems. We'd ask you to support the change. Thank you.
Thank you. And then there's a card against, I'm going to butcher this, I apologize, Glester Keenan? You are in support. All right, you checked I'm in opposition of. Well, with that being said, no one is actually in opposition to this item, so may we have any questions or comments by the commission? Hearing none, we'll take a motion.
Move for the approval of item MSP 2022-01, including all staff comments and conditions.
Second.
Thank you. We've had a second. May we have a roll call vote?
Yes. Roll call vote. Benton?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Haynes?
Yes.
Hodge? Commissioner Hodge? Latour?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes.
And Vogel?
Yes. And can we go back to Commissioner Hodge one more time?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Hodge, can you hear me? We'll mark her down as connectivity issues regarding this vote also.
Commissioner Hodge, one more time before we finish this vote. Can you hear us? If so, we have your vote. Thank you. All right. I think the item passes.
Yes,
All right.
motion carries.
Thank you all for coming out and supporting item 15. We'll let the room clear for a moment, and then we'll have a reading of item 16. No rush. I'm going to take a restroom. What's that? This is the last item we should have, yes. I'm going to step away for just a moment to the restroom. Romy, we're about ready to start. Romy, we're about ready to get back to it. Okay, we'll let the rest of the commissioners get started, and then we'll hear the reading from Walter again.
Yeah, tell me when you're ready, and I'll come back up here.
I think everybody is ready now.
Ready? Okay. Mr. Chair and Planning Commissioners, the item before you is a request for annexation. This is a site that's immediately adjacent to the city. Where it's contiguous is a little over 650 feet on its most extreme eastern boundary to an area of the city that was annexed in 2003. The area is basically undeveloped at the current time. There is a house with some outbuildings in the southern portion of it. It's primarily wooded now, but it has been cleared. A large portion of it has been cleared in the past and used for different purposes. The southern portion, it has a slope to the south. And then the northern portion, there's a significant ridge line in, and that's where your biggest area of differentiation and height is in that northern third of the annexation area. The area is zoned R2, single family, as most of the adjacent areas are. As you see, the map before you is a zoning map of the area. A year ago, in August of 2021, this commission approved a preliminary plat for the majority, the southern portion, roughly 2/3, 3/4 of this annexation area for a 551 lot single family subdivision. That was proposed to be done in 7 phases, of which the first phase was to be 75 lots. The applicant has not provided a timeline on when they propose to develop this subdivision, how many years they plan to take to develop it for all the lots. And at the time of development, that one single-family house and outbuildings would be removed. It's not consistent with the preliminary plat. As I mentioned just a minute ago, the area is predominantly single-family or RL, residential low density, on the land use plan. There is a small area of office on the land use plan on Crystal Valley on both sides of the land use plan at Colonel Miller Road, where it intersects Crystal Valley Road, just on the southern edge of this, across the street from this annexation. As you see on the zoning map, there is one parcel that has been zoned office, which is zoned 03, as you see on the map. Based on the assessor's records, it's not being used for office. It's being taxed as a single-family property, not as a office property. The area is to the immediate west is mostly a developed single-family subdivision of larger tracts of land, acreage basically, lots. And then inside the city to the east is the Sienna Lakes subdivision, of which a portion has been developed, as you can see on the map, but it has been preliminary platted all the way to the city limits, to the west and to the north on your map in the city limits area there. The applicant has provided us the letter from the state indicating that it is contiguous and that they've met all the state law requirements to file for an annexation. They're using the 100% owner-occupied process for that, and they've submitted all that information to the county judge's office in July of this year for approval from Pulaski County. If this area is annexed, it would bring in about a little over 1,900 linear feet of Crystal Valley Road into the city of Little Rock, because in Pulaski County, when anybody annexes land, the road, all adjacent roads are also annexed that's the normal process in this county. The master street plan shows Crystal Valley as a minor arterial As well, maybe I haven't mentioned on this, for this item, it is a two-lane road. It is not built to arterial standards. And as I mentioned in the last item, arterial standards would be either a 4 or 5 lane road at some point in the future. The preliminary plat calls for the development, at the time of development, that the owners or the developers of the land would have to improve the northern half of about 1,200 linear feet of Crystal Valley with their initial development, and then the rest of the area being annexed in a later phase of the subdivision, in phase 5 of the subdivision. So the Public Works Department has not indicated any issues with taking over maintenance of the continuing maintenance of the road. It would be create an in-out situation, not that different than what we already have on Canis Road, in between Chenal and then up to Denny and past Denny Road in the northern part of the county, north of here a few miles. Let me see. For as far as solid waste goes, there would be, when the homes are built, that will become a city responsibility to service that. That is the way that service works is that it's supported by the fees that are charged for the pickups. So it's supposed to pay for itself, so that should not be an issue. And we got no comments from the solid waste division. There are no, based on the maps that I was provided, there are no water line maps close by or sewer map lines. But in both cases, the applicant would be responsible, or the developer would be responsible for extending those lines. There is a water line both to the east and to the west in Crystal Valley that the developer potentially could extend. That will be up to their work with Central Arkansas Water on how they would get the water to this site. But they would have to extend at their cost the service from where it ends, either to the east or the west, most likely, to this site. The sewer, the closest sewer is in the creek to the south. And so working with the water reclamation of the city of Little Rock, the wastewater utility, they would have to work out an alignment and the construction at their cost to connect up to this area to provide sewer service to this area. There is a fire station recently built on Stagecoach Road, and it was approximately 2 miles as a driving distance as the roads are currently laid out to get to this location. The fire department did not give any comments on this annexation. The police department did give a comment on this and did indicate that they did have some concerns about how this might impact the police services by expanding the city's jurisdictional area. But initially, their only service would be to the street itself, since there's no development on the property, and it would be slow over time, incremental, as the subdivision gets constructed, that they would provide services both to the streets and to the structures that are built in any subdivision that might be constructed to the north. Staff is recommending approval of the annexation. One last thing, since annexations are a little different than a normal process, I wanted to remind the commission that no matter what your action is today, this item goes to the Little Rock Board of Directors. It's just if you do not vote 6 ayes, it will go with a recommendation of denial. If you do have 6 ayes, then it will go with a recommendation of approval. But this is not like a zoning item that would potentially stop here or have to be appealed. Annexations go automatically to the elected body. So you are making a recommendation to the Little Rock Board of Directors.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Harrison Kemp, and I represent the applicant. I would not have anything of substance to add beyond what Mr. Malone said, so we'll reserve our time to respond to any objections that might be lodged.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 2 Cards against, Melody Parsley. David, yes.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is David Whitty. I am the president of the Plantation Acres Homeowners Association. I am here today representing the interests of my own association and two other associations, the Crystal Valley Property Owners Association and Sienna Lakes Homeowners Association. And if I could ask everybody that is in opposition, if they could stand just to give you an idea of all the folks here that are in opposition. Thank you. Thank you, Little Rock Planning Commission, for the opportunity for us to share with you once again our concerns about the developer's attempt to physically and permanently alter our community forever into something that even you, the Little Rock Planning Commission, did not envision back in your 2000 Crystal Valley Neighborhood Action Plan. Nearly a year ago, in our first community meeting in which the developer presented his plan, he told us this was his land and nobody could stop him from doing what he wanted to do with it. He said, "I've met all the requirements, but I'm here today to remind everyone that this land was purchased only 4 months ago, according to Pulaski County records on April 29, and that this is actually our community and our land surrounding this proposed development that he is coming into and proposing to change forever." The developer and engineer will once again attempt to impart to you that they have met the requirements for annexation, and therefore recommendation for approval should be given. We firmly believe that this is an insult to the commission to be told that you should approve something simply because they have met the requirements, as this developer has done over and over again. I would not tell my 4 children, good job for getting a D, just to get them passed to the next grade level. What they won't tell you is that they have attempted to only meet the minimum requirements with no regard to our communities. They are coming into our community and attempting to alter it and degrade the value of our properties. If you go to the next slide, please.
Got to enable editing.
We, neighborhoods and associations bordering the proposed property, are not against the development of this property, and we never have been. In fact, we've tried to work with the developer multiple times to modify the proposal to no avail. We simply have grave concerns with the current proposed plan for development. And when I say we, I do not make this as an unsupported claim. 98% of Plantation Acres residents and 96% of Sienna Lake residents signed petitions that we provided to you a year ago, the ones that I have in my hand, in opposition to the current proposed development. That is nearly 100% of the residents of the neighborhoods around this proposal are in opposition. We asked the developer to change his proposal at our first meeting. He refused. We asked him again almost a year ago at the Planning Commission meeting for the preliminary plat. He refused. Now we are asking you to recommend stopping the annexation of this property and the destruction of our community until changes are made to the plan, as annexation will result in a dense urban enclave in the middle of Pulaski County. Next slide, please. First, we want to once again show you an aerial view of the proposed development and the two neighborhoods on the west and east sides, namely Plantation Acres on the west and Sienna Lake on the east. The proposed development is marked CVT and is currently a completely forested plot of land other than the one house that was already discussed. There are 11 properties that directly border the proposed development in Plantation Acres, and 7 on Crystal Valley Road. Next slide, please. Back on August 12th of 2021, we presented our concerns before you directly after the Planning Commission attorney attempted to shut us down by stating that the court case Richardson versus the City of Little Rock Planning Commission prevented you from disapproving the developer's preliminary plat. But today we kindly remind you, as you already know, that the Richardson case does not apply to annexation approval recommendations to the board. In fact, we want to share a quote from the Arkansas Supreme Court decision regarding Richardson, which said this, and I quote, "This decision does not mean, however, that an individual is constitutionally guaranteed the right to do with such property as he or she wishes in all circumstances." So according to the Arkansas Supreme Court, the developer does not have the right to do whatever he wants to simply by claiming that it's his land and that he has met all the requirements. This is a circumstance that beckons your consideration because it will forever alter the vision and reality of the community that we live in, as will be explained further. Next slide, please. Our first grave concern with the proposed annexation is that it creates a city enclave surrounded by Pulaski County land. As the picture shows, the only portion of this development that is actually attached to the city of Little Rock is not where utilities connect, it's not where a road connects, or even where houses connect. It is a forest on the northeast corner, a small sliver of city. The developer wants to drop one of the densest developments in Little Rock right in the middle of rural county, where 3 to 5 acre lots surrounded on the west, a horse pasture on the east, a timber and cattle farm on the south, and 100% forest to the north and the northwest. Absolutely no populated portion of city borders this development. The only contiguous portion with the city is a forest. And only by a technicality is the engineer who claimed in a letter dated May 5, 2022 to the County Court of Pulaski County that no enclaves will be created if the property is accepted by the city. Clearly, an enclave is being created as seen on this map. As you are aware, you, the Planning Commission, are the recommending body to the City Board of Directors to stop the creation of such an enclave. In the case Richardson versus City of Little Rock Planning Commission, the decision stated that the Planning Commission only has to approve preliminary plats that, quote, meet the minimum requirements. Again, only meeting the minimum of requirements. I would hope that all of us are held to a higher standard than to simply meet the minimum without any regard to the neighbors of this proposed development. Next slide, please. In accordance with the preliminary plat document that you approved on August 12, 2021, staff wrote on page 7 that the subdividing of this property should have no adverse impact on the surrounding properties. With all due respect to the staff, this is simply not true. Everyone in this room, including the developer, knows that when you build 551 houses on 6,000 square foot tiny lots, valued at around $150,000 each, next to houses that are valued at over $1 million on between 3.5 and 5.5 acres in plantation acres, this will have a devastating impact upon property values in all 3 of our subdivisions, Plantation Acres, Sienna Lakes, and Crystal Valley. And like I said, nearly 100% of our residents agree with that statement. Next slide, please. The developer continues to tell you that they have met the requirements. Sadly, this is not the whole story. What the developer is failing to tell you is that they have barely met the minimum requirement for R2 housing. right next to the upper end of R2 housing with million-dollar homes in R2 zoning. You have been called into your position on this planning commission to protect and conserve the land and buildings as stated in Little Rock City Code, Division 2, Residential District, Section 36-251. Given the point we made in our previous slide about how this annexation into the city, given the developer's current proposal, will clearly not conserve the value of land and buildings. We call upon you to act today to not recommend this annexation to the city board unless changes are made in order to conserve the value of land and buildings of homeowners that have lived in this community for years. Next slide, please. The purpose of this overlay is to give you a visual of just how many houses will be going up against the Plantation Acres property and the actual acreage of each lot in Plantation Acres. The picture clearly shows the incompatibility of our current community with what the developer is trying to do in changing forever what we cherish. The density of this proposal is significant. I moved into this rural community 7 years ago as a combat veteran returning from Iraq, so I could have a space, a quiet landscape, and a safe space for my 4 children to play. Annexing this land into the city, given the current proposal, will forever destroy that. Next slide, please. On the east side, the residents of Sienna Lake, including 96% of them that signed these petitions, we gave back to you in August of 2021, feel the same way about the property incompatibility with their neighborhood, where houses range in value from $254,000 to $451,000, and lots that are a third of an acre in size. The value of over 100 homes in the surrounding communities will be drastically affected. Next slide, please. Just a week ago, respected commentator Rex Nelson wrote an editorial article in the Democrat Gazette highlighting exactly the issue that we are talking about today and that the developer is trying to do. He said, this is the title of the article, Infill Development. It's time for developers to slow the steady march west. They instead should look at revitalizing properties in older parts of the city. The signs of that happening are encouraging. In addition to new owners of the 3 shopping centers mentioned above, 2 of the largest towers downtown have new owners who are promising to spend millions of dollars on these properties. The next step is encouraging people to live downtown. The 2 tallest buildings on Main Street, Boyle and Donaghy, make great apartment or condo complexes, end quote. This development is yet another one marching west, trying to change the makeup of our county and our city. And as staff just mentioned in the notes that you have, the Little Rock Police Department indicated a concern for impact on police services due to the expansion of the city limit at a time when we are over 70 officers in Little Rock short. These developers are creating the perfect storm for the city of Little Rock if the Planning Commission and the City Board continue to keep approving annexation developments like Crystal Valley Trails, with no regard to the surrounding community that they are moving into and drastically affecting. At this time, I'd like to hand the presentation over to resident of Crystal Valley Road, Melody Parsley.
I have about 6 minutes left, so.
Okay, next slide. You got to give us credit for how slow he is on the slides, too. As David mentioned, our surrounding communities are still concerned about health and safety issues. And one issue being the water well distribution and contamination. There are over 20 water well systems located in this immediate area with 7 of these wells adjacent to the property. My family is affected, and this is our sole, for all 20 residents, this is their sole water source. No mention in any of the studies has been made on the impact to these sole drinking water sources, whether it be by impact to the underground aquifers affecting the volume that's going into these wells, or to the contamination of water in the well by sedimentation. As stated by the developer, there will be tremendous earth movement involved in the total clearing of the land and leveling of the land for this subdivision. So there is, again, no discussion has been held nor mention of this environmental aspect of building. Second major concern has been and will probably continue to be the flooding due to the clearing of the vegetation in this area, as well as the amount of slope south toward Crystal Valley. As you can see on the plat on the slide, the north side is at the top of the slide. There is a 130-foot drop due south to Crystal Valley. Next slide, please. This is the Pulaski County flood hazard map, which was updated in 2020. The study shows the hazard study that stopped the northern limit at Crystal Valley Road. Haw Creek, which is indicated in pink, runs northwest to southeast, runs through my cattle operation, providing the sole source of flowing water for these cows. It also supplies water into the Eagle Hill Golf Course and through the middle of the golf course, dumping into Fish Creek watershed. The pink on this map indicates the creek bed, with the blue indicates the 1% annual flood designation area. Next slide, please. This is the current FEMA flood hazard map, also updated 2020, to show this 2015 flood study that was done. Notice that the boundary line of this study, the northern boundary line, creeps over into the area of discussion. Next slide, please. This is a blow up of that area, and the enlarged area showing the flooding going over Crystal Valley into Crystal Valley Trail development area. We already know that flooding can occur in this area with the removal of all vegetation in 105 of the 170 acres, plus the addition of concrete, asphalt, and structures, plus the elevation drop that is there of 130 feet. We anticipate more flooding potential, but yet there has not been a flood hazard study done on the proposed area of development. In this map, I want to point out the red striped area is the bed of Haw Creek with the blue area of the floodplain, as I mentioned. And I'd like for you to remember this 1% annual flood designation in our Pulaski County map. Next slide, please. Pulaski County will frequently tweet when roads are closed due to flooding. This tweet came out during the closing of Crystal Valley and Colonel Miller during a flood. Next slide. And you can see on your right is the north. This is water coming directly out of the development that we are discussing, flowing across Crystal Valley south into property. So we truly, truly believe that a closer look at an environmental impact flood study needs to be done before approval of this area is warranted. And most importantly, an impact of the water well systems that are adjacent to this development.
Next slide, please. I'll be quick. As was stated, no flood study has been done. No traffic study has been done either. And we have some grave concerns for the safety of individuals on Crystal Valley Road. Next slide, please. In accordance with traffic, there are two 90-degree single-lane turns on the east side of Crystal Valley, which or a lot of this traffic will be going from the proposed development down this road and into Stagecoach Road. We have a grave concern for school buses, for cars that are already on this road, given the small size of a 2-lane road. Next slide, please. And not long ago, the Little Rock Planning Commission and the City Board of Directors contributed to and adopted a neighborhood action plan for this area, and that is the cover of this plan. Next slide, please. In your adopted vision statement, you said, and I quote, "Our vision includes the preservation of the green spaces and site barriers with which our area is richly blessed, and the development sensitive to the natural environment which has drawn many of our residents to this area." End quote. Clear cutting for this proposed neighborhood, due to the 1,250% increase in density of the small lots and houses compared to the surrounding area, will drastically impact green spaces and site barriers. In turn, this will affect individuals seeking property anywhere in this area, and thus our property values. Finally, next slide, please. These are the property owner requests for the 3 associations that I represent today, and the near 100% of residents who signed these petitions in opposition to the proposed plan. We are asking that our community concerns about health and safety be respected and addressed before development begins. Next, we request once again that the developer change the proposal to better reflect our community, to prevent an enclave of the city from being developed in the middle of the county, and address the drastic disparity in property and value. Finally, we kindly ask you to fulfill your duty to protect property and home values, which we all know will be drastically affected by this development. Thank you so much for your time, and we are certainly available for questions.
Thank you. We'll let the applicant have their turn, please.
Thank you. I wanted to respond to a couple of the observations that were made by the objectors. First, by characterizing the objections in kind of 2 fundamental ways, or 2 substantive ways. The first is the nature of the development itself and their objections that they are repeating from their challenges to the adoption of the preliminary plat in the first instance. And we are not here doing that again today. This is a petition for annexation. The question that is on the table for this board to consider is whether or not to bring this subdivision into the city of Little Rock, not whether or not 551 lots is an appropriate density, not whether or not it's going to have a negative impact on non-city residents' property values. And of course, we don't concede that that there is too much density or that it will have a negative impact, but that's not what this board is here to consider today. The question on the table is whether or not the development as approved, as already instantiated, should be brought into the city for the provision of services. This is not an opportunity to relitigate the question that they litigated before and did not prevail on. It's not a second bite at the apple, so to speak. And it's improper for them to make that same kind of argument today and simply say you should deny their request for annexation because we didn't like the fact that you approved their preliminary plat. That's fundamentally unfair. They did not make any challenge to the annexation itself. They did not, and in fact, 98% of the residents of Plantation Acres objecting to an annexation into a city that they're not citizens of, it doesn't make any sense. They're not responding to the only issue that's before this board, which is whether or not we should be brought into the city. Now, they do make what I would argue are irrelevant arguments with respect to flooding and traffic and their water wells. They're not relevant to the question of whether or not the subdivision should be brought into the city, but we don't want to leave those unresponded to, and they're more in the nature of an engineering analysis. And so I'd like to ask our civil engineer, Joe White, to come up and respond to each one of those items in total, or specifically, but I would ask the board to keep in mind as we're considering even our rebuttals to these substantive challenges, that what's on the table today is annexation, not the terms of the development. This is not another chance for the objectors to relitigate that question.
Thank you, Harrison. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'm Joe White. So much of what's been brought up today was already vetted at the Planning Commission when we brought the preliminary plat, the density, traffic, and I can go back through all that. In fact, I just pulled my notes out of my file from the original hearing. It's not dense. When these lots all meet city minimums, 50 feet wide, 120 feet deep. When we develop lots like that in a very dense pattern, we get 5 lots to the acre. This development is 3.3 lots to the acre. And the reason is because we provided so much green space. And that's what people like. People want to have a large area for their kids to play, to walk in. So Harrison is correct. I mean, we have talked about this. We have met with the neighbors. Mr. Whitty asked us to provide a buffer between his house, which he's at the southeast corner of the Plantation Acres development. And he asked us to provide a buffer between his lot and this development. And I can't remember in 35 years ever providing a buffer between 2 residential developments. But we did it. And then he opposed us, of course. I would tell you to go out to Chenal Valley and look at Chenal Downs and look at Fletcher Valley. Same developer, almost exactly the same situation. We have Chenal Downs, 5-acre lots, $1 million homes, gated community. Across the street, Fletcher Ridge, 50-foot lots. Works great, gives people options, gives people wanting a starter home a place to be. You know, if you look at what's happening here, we've got this development, which is starter homes. I can tell you that my daughter just bought a house in Fayetteville exactly like what we're building here, and she is thrilled. She's 28 years old. She saved her money, and she bought a house here in a neighborhood like this, and a house exactly like this, and she is thrilled. Could she live in Sienna Lakes? She could not. Could she live in Plantation Acres? Nope. I suspect that our neighbors that are against us today in their 20s couldn't have lived in Sienna Lakes or Plantation Acres either. I mean, it gives people a chance to live in this area in something they can afford. And who knows, maybe 10 or 15 years from now, people living in this neighborhood will be able to step up to Sienna Lakes. And maybe one day, Plantation Acres. I wanted to talk about water. So there is no Central Arkansas water right in this area. There is the West Markham system is to the west in Plantation Acres. We have the intermediate system to the east, and then we have the Mableville system to the south. We're going to extend the Mableville system up into this development. CAW contacted us and asked if we could turn and run that line to our southeast corner, and we agreed to do that. It's going to cost us about $100,000 additional. They're going to immediately extend that line over to Sienna Lakes because the intermediate system in that area is deficient. Their pressures are low, their flows are low, and they're excited about the fact, and they're going to spend the money to extend over to that, but they're going to shore up their intermediate system in the Sienna Lakes area. All of a sudden, everybody on a well that we're talking about out here is going to have a chance to get on CAW water. In terms of sewer, there's a 10-inch line that comes up through Eagle Hill Golf Course. The minimum line that we can extend in Little Rock is 8-inch. The reason there's a 10-inch line there is because Little Rock Reclamation has always expected that this area would develop. And that's why the oversized line has been extended up through Eagle Hill. We're going to extend that line up to the development. And the staff, we met with Hal Anderson and his staff. They asked if we would extend the 10-inch line over to our southwest corner. And Mr. Ferguson agreed to do that. So this development is occurring and utilities are getting extended that are actually going to serve people that are already in the area. And so to me, it's a positive thing. Just looking at the other issues, stormwater detention, drainage. We are going to have to provide stormwater detention. We have 2 shown on our preliminary plat that you guys have already approved. One is in the southeast corner, and one is kind of mid down at the south. Ms. Parsley brought up the flooding. No question, Hall Branch is a large creek. It's got floodplain. It actually skirts our southwest corner, goes through Ms. Parsley's property, skirts our southwest corner, and continues on northwest up through the 40 acres to our west. Actually does not cross our property. So we will have to provide detention. Staff will review our plans and make sure that we do everything correctly. You know, just go back to the Richardson case that was brought up. There are minimum requirements for lot sizes, street widths, how we develop property. All property doesn't develop the same. That's why we have a variety throughout Little Rock of different lot sizes, different price points. People move into different neighborhoods because they like the area and they can afford certain things. Again, this development meets all the requirements of the City of Little Rock's regs. I mean, that's why they're there. It gives us something to go by when we're designing a development like this, and we've done exactly as staff has said. I mean, we meet the requirements. So I think that's everything I had. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, is there any questions by the commission for the applicant?
Yeah, Harrison's bringing up the enclave. You know, the enclave issue, I'm not even sure I know what that means. There is no enclave issue here. We are adjacent to the city limits. If you look at the western city limits of Little Rock and you go back over the years to see how they've extended, it's never a perfect line. It's developments coming in, the city grows. I mean, you know, if you look at the northwest part of the city limits, they are so much further west for a variety of reasons. This is the natural growth of the city. And so I think, again, I go back to, that's exactly why our staff is supporting both the preliminary plat and the annexation.
Any questions by the commission?
I have a question. I have a question for the opposer. We get to sit amongst several of these types of situations. One of the questions that I always like to ask is, if not this, then what do the residents want?
Absolutely. We've asked the developer multiple times to simply reflect our community. We are not opposed to development. We simply want something that matches the area, that is not going to destroy the community that we love and cherish. When it comes to density, when it comes to noise, sight, all of that will be drastically affected by this development. And so we've asked them to increase lot size, That's essentially what it's come down to. Again, do the development, but just make it look like our community that we've lived in for years.
Thank you. Any other questions by the commission?
Yes, I have a question. And this is more just a comment. As Joe White said, there are similar developments to this in the city of Little Rock. In a nightmare scenario that the opposition seems to be referring to hasn't happened before. And looks like the developer and Joe White have went the extra mile in trying to meet most of their demands, but the developer does have a right to develop his land. And so my comment, I'll be in support of the city annexing this. We're not, like I said, relitigating what happened in the past. The project has already been approved. And I think those dollars coming into the city and the natural progression west is just part of growing. And so I would hope that the opposition would get on board with progress, because we have to progress as a city, and there's demand for these projects out west. And as long as demand is there, developers are going to keep developing. So I'll be in support of this project.
Any other questions?
This is Sherry Latimer, City Attorney's Office. I apologize for interrupting. I'd like to just make a brief comment on the Richardson case that was mentioned. The case is Richardson versus City of Little Rock Planning Commission. It's a case from the late 1980s that comes out of the Arkansas Supreme Court. I know the commissioners are familiar with it. That case did deal with a subdivision plat, not an annexation. And it said, in essence, that if the city had created ordinances in regard to planning subdivision and the applicant had followed those requirements, at that point, the Planning Commission had an obligation to pass or to approve of that application. As the applicant said, the subdivision plat is not before the commission tonight. So I just wanted to comment and make that clear in regard to the Richardson case. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the commission's aware we're voting on an annexation request by the applicant. And if there's any other questions by the commissioners, do y'all have any? If so, now would be the time. Hearing none, may we have a motion?
I move for the approval of item A342, including all staff comments and conditions.
Second.
May we have a roll call vote?
Roll call vote. Benton?
Yes.
Benton?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Mart? Yes. Haynes?
Yes.
Hodge? Commissioner Hodge? Latour?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Thomas? Commissioner Thomas? Vickers?
Yes.
And Vogel?
No.
Commissioner Thomas, can you hear me?
I think we had some technical
Motion
difficulties.
passes.
Motion passes 7-1, 2 no vote, or 2 abstained. So good luck at the city council. Thank y'all. We appreciate y'all turning out for, again, subject matter close to y'all's hearts. Thank y'all for your time and your patience. My mispronunciations.
Ready?
4 of them, yeah.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
we need to close the meeting if there's no other comments.
Yes, if there are no public comments, we'll adjourn the meeting.